Hello everyone, so today we're doing a review on the Flathead V660 Carb. So if you saw last week's video, you saw me in a tank top headed to Florida, and that was really nice. When I got back, right back up to Ohio, I had to go. I'm here with Kit and my husband's bike, Maggie. They're gonna help do this review with me. Come along. Today I wanted to talk to you about the Flathead from CAO, which is one of my favorite brands in general. It really is. I love CAO. And the Flathead line is no exception. It's really designed after old cars, muscle cars, combustion engines, and every title that they have in this lineup is going after a car lover's heart, absolutely. And I think you'll find as such in flavor too. This is a Gordo, it's a 660. So in all of the Flathead lineups, the number is indicative of its size. So it is 6 inches long and the ring gauge around is 60. This Gordo is a 95 rated cigar. It's really held in high esteem. But also I think it was in 2015, it was rated number 3 overall. So this cigar has really had high praises. And again, it's coming from CAO. I can't imagine that anything they do ever does poorly, at least in my mind. I'm a huge fan of CAO. So overall, today, we're gonna be discussing this medium to full-bodied cigar. It really is nice. I think you'll really like it if you're into a heavier duty, a meatier cigar, so to speak, or if you're wanting to upgrade into something else, because if you've been smoking mild to mediums and you want to really push yourself into the next profile, I think this is a good one to do it, really. It's fair, as I call it. It does have some pepper, but it doesn't burn your nose. So today I'm also going to be talking to you guys about humidors, various kinds, how to season them. I'm gonna try to do a crown cut. I had someone else mention that they were trying to do a crown cut using the V cutters and they could never get it right. And it is tricky. I mean, look at how flat and big. I mean, that's a whole lot of surface right there, but let's see what we can do. So a crown is a V cut going one way and then the other way. Let's see. So we have one, okay? And then we go the other way. So now you have a crown. I kind of like it. On the big cigars, I like a crown cut. Honestly, I wasn't sure I would like that in the beginning. I thought maybe it would really screw up the cap and kind of ruin the cigar smoking experience, but it doesn't. And anybody who's been watching will know that I kind of like the smokestack. So on my last video, we talked about this. I'm gonna punch just a small hole. So there we go. I've got my smokestack set up. All right, so everyone, this is a pretty dark looking cigar, but it's actually Connecticut Broadleaf Oscuro. How does that make sense, huh? The binder is Connecticut Habano. It's a seed. And the filler is a mix of Nicaraguan and Dominican Republic leaves. So it's a really nice, interesting mix they've got going on. Nice variety. So in this series, they're all geared, pardon the pun, they're all geared toward being titled after car engines and parts. So you have other titles, and it all kind of depends on the size, such as the camshaft, the spark plug, and the piston. And I think there's also a big block. So they're all good. They're all good. They also have a motorcycle line, which, hey, my favorite. It's called the Steel Horse. So they have the handbrake, the ape hanger, the bull neck, and roadkill. Those are my two favorite, personally. The Steel Horse line shares the Connecticut Broadleaf wrapper, but it goes Brazilian in its binder, and then it's got a interesting mix of Honduran, Nicaraguan, and Dominican Republic leaves. So you get a little bit of a different flavor profile, but those we'll save for another day. So this particular cigar is listed as having very leather, chocolate, ripe fruit, and molasses as its flavor profile. And I don't disagree with that. When I originally started smoking this cigar, I noticed a lot of the molasses coming through. Really, really nice. On your retrohale, you'll tend to get a kind of like a dark cherry. I really like the darker fruits. Raisins, you might get some of that. On the retrohale, you'll get your darker fruits like your red cherries, dark cherries, raisins, plums, that kind of thing. And it can be really nice. On my roof, you know how I do my roof rub, as I call it, I get more of the leather and definitely that molasses coming through, but also a bit of a nuttiness. A creamy nutty, like maybe some cashew and almond going on in there. It's good. This cigar typically ranges in around the $14 to $16 range, depending on where you're getting it, but it's well worth it. This is well worth it because this is going to be about a 2-hour smoke. So let's talk about humidors for a minute. So there's a whole lot of different types of humidors, and one of the first questions you have to ask yourself is, do you want a desktop humidor or do you want a travel humidor? And ultimately, if you're going to be in cigars, you're probably going to have at least one of each. The biggest thing about a humidor is that it is any space that is airtight. There are people that go buy wine coolers and they take out the refrigerative elements and they line it with cedar, and they use that as a big humidor, which can be really nice. You can also use Tupperware. You can't find a travel humidor you want to take, you need something quick, you can use Tupperware, you guys. There's also acrylic humidors with a latch top. The biggest thing is going to be putting a Boveda pack or some other humidity control pack in there. Humidity, I know we've talked about before on some of the other videos, but humidity is the absolute kicker for keeping a cigar correctly. If you're going to season a cigar, if you're going to let it really develop and age properly, you have to have the correct humidity and temperature. So the best humidity really runs at around 69%. I like mine anywhere from 69 to 72. If you go over 72%, the cigar runs the risk of getting mold. If it has what they call these little worm eggs, cigar worms can pop out. If you ever see a cigar that has little holes popping out through, they're totally smokable. We smoke them quite a bit and don't even know that we're doing it. It's not a bad thing. Just, we don't want those little guys hatching. I don't think anybody wants to see little worms crawling out of their cigar. So 69 to 72, 69 being the ultimate. Humidity wise, that's the best area, but you also have to consider temperature. So your temperature shouldn't be too hot. If you're over 75 degrees, that's getting hot. I also wouldn't want mine too cold. Some people say they'd rather have a cigar be too cold than too hot. I don't, because when they get cold, they get dry and they get flaky and they're brittle. But if they're very warm, as long as they're not hot, they keep that sponginess, and I really like that. So again, you have to consider both your temperature in the room that you're keeping your humidor and the humidity that you keep the humidor set to and maintained at. So with most of your cedar-lined humidors, you have to season them. There's a couple ways you can do that. You always use distilled water, never tap water, because tap water contains minerals that can really affect the flavor of the cigar. So distilled water is generally used to wipe down the cedar, let it really soak in. If you're working with something like a acrylic humidor or a Tupperware, you can put a Boveda pack in. You can even put in a little bit of distilled water if it's a Tupperware with a sponge in it, and let that sit in there, kind of let it develop. Your acrylics are going to be best used with a Boveda pack, or again, any other humidity control pack. It's just going to keep a good humidity level in there. I don't recommend the acrylic or a Tupperware for a long term, but for short term, they're very good. So let's go look at a couple humidors and see what they look like and see what some options are. Okay, so we're here in the house, and I'm going to show you our humidors. We have quite a few. We have one that we use all the time. We have another one that we can use as a backup. They're both pretty big. And then we have quite a few travel humidors. Okay, so here's our everyday humidor. Isn't that beautiful? I got that from a local shop here. There's quite a few cigars there. Look at those lovelies. This Espinosa, I'm interested in trying that. It's a Sumatra. You know I love my Sumatras. So we have this Gurkha pack here, and in the tray down below, we have a Boveda pack. You can buy different size bags depending on how many cigars you are trying to keep at their level. So you can see the cedar lining. We used to have an actual humidity gauge there, but we've got it pretty well set up. We keep it about 72 in our house. I know that sounds warm, but where we are, it just works. That's my other big humidor. We just keep extra things in there, just period. We keep wrappers, we keep some bags in there, we keep extra Boveda packs. So here's two travel humidors. This is my personal one that I take on the truck with me. You may have seen it. I don't have any cigars in there right now, but I do have a Boveda bag. And you see they have foam, so it keeps the cigars nice and cushioned. Usually I have foam in the bottom too, but by the time I get my cutter in there and lighter and my cigars, I usually don't have any more space, so it works. There's a larger one. So again, you can see the foam. You can put a little humidity gauge in there and it'll tell you what you're running. Depending on how many cigars you want to take with you, you have a humidor that will work. I'll show you our travel humidor, our big travel. That's the big guy. We can get, I think we've had almost 80 cigars in that. Ooh, this is still good. So you can always tell a Boveda pack is good because it's squishy. It's not hard. When they start getting hard, then, again, no comments, then they're ready to be thrown out. These are really nothing more than salt, water, and a food grade thickening agent. There's one of my kitties saying hello. Oh, we've been looking for that lighter. So we've taken out several pieces of foam, but you can stack them up about 3 levels high. Another humidor glass top over there. We don't use it for much anymore. We have 2 more humidors over here. This one is a homemade one. Just put a little cedar in there, some Boveda packs. It was good to go, and it was very decorative. This was, I think, James's first one that he had. This was the one that I brought to the relationship years and years ago. Also, you could just use, if you're like me, you like to collect cigar boxes because they're beautiful. Look at that guy. Look how cool that is. Now, let me also show you something else I've done with cigar boxes. That is a cigar box compilation I did, and the Gurkha always wants to stay open. Stay. So yes, you can use, there it goes. I need to get a magnet on it. So you can use some of these boxes and you can just enjoy it. We like to have that on display, be able to show some of the boxes we've had. And I still have, oh gosh, at least another 50 boxes. So that's my weakness is cigar boxes. They're beautiful. They're little works of art. They really are. And some are quite elaborate and gorgeous inside. So maybe that answers some questions about humidors. I did have a specific request from someone to talk about humidors and what sizes there were, what options there were. So the list can be endless. You really can do a lot. There are some large humidors that you can have in your home that are, really tall, lighted, with drawers. I mean, really fancy. As you can see, we're kind of overrun with humidors, and we only use one right now, other than our own travel humidors. So let's talk about this cigar. I'm getting into this halfway point, and you can see nice, even burning ash. Look at that, you guys. Isn't that nice? That's good. So the molasses is what really stands out to me. As I smoke this and draw it in, I get that earthy, a little musty and molasses note with a slight bit of espresso. On the retrohale, that's where those dried fruits come out, those dark dried fruits. It's really smooth. I call it suede. I know that's not really a flavor, but in my mind, I kind of get this sense of suede, a mustiness in a good way. This cigar really is so nice. You cannot go wrong with it. This is one I absolutely recommend. On the tongue rub, or the roof rub, I get more cooking spices. I get a little, maybe baking soda, and that sounds weird, I know. I get some cloves, maybe a little cinnamon, because some people like to say that this is a peppery cigar, and I don't generally like a black pepper in my cigar. This one does not affect me that way. So I would go, as far as my spices, I would go with something like cloves. That's really pretty good. There's a flavor wheel. I need to post a picture of it. If I can get a good picture, I'm gonna post it here and show you guys how many flavors, if you're new to developing your palate, or if there's a taste that you've got going on in a cigar and you just can't put your thumb on it, you can look at this flavor wheel and it helps you itemize each flavor and then break them down into all these different selections. So it can be a really great way to help develop your palate and just help put a name to some of the flavors you're smoking. A really nice cigar. So I'll check back in as I get closer to the band. These flavors do tend to intensify as you come up the cigar, so we'll see what it's doing for me then. All right, guys, so I'm not quite to the end. I still have a little ways to go. It's been about an hour and a half. I figured I'd go ahead and just touch base because from here it's all just brilliance. Look at this beautiful ash still hanging on. Again, even burnt. I've not touched this cigar up one time since I've been smoking it. That to me is one sign of a very well constructed cigar. So very impressed with this. Okay, so there is a definite creaminess coming through now. The nuttiness is really coming forward. I still get that sense of molasses and that dark fruit, the raisin, the dark cherry. Those two really stand out. And again, in a good way, I would say there's a mustiness about this cigar that makes it very friendly. It's very nice and gentle on the retrohale. It allows some of these flavors to come through without giving you that peppery burn. It gives you that beautiful thick smoke. This cigar never goes wrong. I smoke this cigar quite a bit, and I've never had one that was bad. They are very well constructed, just brilliantly designed. CAO knocked it out of the park with this again. Also, that crown cut, as you saw before, still holding up. Cap is still nice. Okay. The chimney stack really gives that cool draw of air every time you take a draw on this cigar. So I always do like to recommend that chimney stack now. That's really become one of my favorites to do with a cigar. Go out, find yourself one of these. I think you'll be really, really pleased. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. And on that note, I'm going to say, go have one of these cigars, stay relaxed, take a breath, take no shit.